So, 2018 sure was a year. It was actually a pretty good year. Not as good as last year by any stretch of the imagination. Or I guess technically that'd be 2 years ago if you want to think about it that way. Man, this video's going up late, I'm sorry. But, it was a good year. There was a lot of good games. A lot of good games I didn't get around to playing. So we're going to start this video off a little differently instead of going over the rules and everything. Let's just go through some quick honorable mentions instead of doing that at the end. So we're going to start with 6 games that I didn't really play much of, or didn't get a chance to finish, or didn't get a chance to really touch at all, but I know are good. So starting off the list, honorable mentions, we have Ni no Kuni 2. I bought that game in February and it is still unopened on my shelf. I know it's good, everyone tells me it's good, but seeing as how I've not even touched it a single time, I can't put it in this video, though I know it's good. Super Mario Party was just shy of making the list. It definitely is a solid game that does a lot to rectify the mistakes of previous Mario Party games, but it just doesn't have enough content or enough features to keep you really coming back. You kind of see everything there is to see pretty quickly. The minigames are solid, and playing it locally with friends or family is a Nintendo experience that is unrivaled. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's really missing to keep you coming back. And with only 3 boards and 1 extra bonus board that's not really a real board, there's just not much content to it. Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, that's another really good game that people tell me is amazing, and I've played a little bit of, but I've not had the time to delve into it extensively. We all know what my preferred couple fighting games have been this year. Dead Cells, another game that everyone tells me is amazing, but I've not played. Soul Calibur 6, I played a bit, but I was waiting for 2B to release, so I just haven't had enough time with the game to really give any proper opinions on it, so that's going to go in the honorable mention section, but know that could have easily made the list just off its character creation alone. And then finally Celeste. So I did play and beat Celeste. Celeste is really good. It's the only game out of these, aside from Mario Party, that I beat. But Celeste, it just was overshadowed a little bit by some of these other games. The soundtrack's great, the story's great, the gameplay's great with Celeste, but I just think that these other 10 games are better. So, now that that's over, let's do a quick recap of the rules. No ports, no remasters, no remakes. Only games that came out in 2018. Games that were localized in 2018, like Dragon Quest XI, are valid. So, without further ado, let's get into the actual list. Starting off at number 10, we have a complete surprise to everyone but me. I've had my eyes on this game for months and months and months now, ever since the beta and the early release on PC, and now that it's finally here on PS4, I can confirm Beat Saber is the 10th best game of the year. Rhythm games are a genre that has already been tapped, and so whenever a new game comes along and actually throws its hat in the ring with a brand new innovative formula, I gotta give it props. Beat Saber, at least on console, may not have the most content out of a rhythm game in the world, but it does shine a lot on PC, where there are custom maps, all kinds of stuff. But just the idea of it, the intrinsic gameplay of a rhythm game in VR, slashing the blocks in the direction and matching color and everything like that, it is really fun, really intuitive, got a killer original soundtrack, and though I may not have a Vive or anything like that to experience it in its true glory, even if you're just playing it on the PSVR, you will have a great time with it, and I can't wait to see what they do with this license going forward. Alright, so speaking of Dragon Quest XI, it's a game, it's a really good game. There's some problems with it, but there's a lot good with it, and I'm willing to overlook some of the problems with this game because of how good the rest of it is. Trust me, you'll be hearing that a lot more with the next entry after this, but Dragon Quest XI is definitely a really enjoyable RPG experience, and it's Dragon Quest, come on, how are you not going to love Dragon Quest? I did play it a bit when it released last year in Japan, don't speak much Japanese, so I wasn't really able to enjoy it to its full extent, but I got the gist of it. And then of course it was localized here this year, so I'm putting it on the list this year. It's a fine game, guys. It's a Dragon Quest game. You get what you pay for with it. And though there are some problems with it, I did really enjoy my time with it. So I definitely would recommend it to you if you guys like RPGs. But that being said, I think there was another RPG that I enjoyed a bit more this year, despite some glaring issues. And that is, of course, Octopath Traveler. Now, it's just a coincidence that this is number 8 on my list. I wasn't being cute, I promise. Octopath Traveler is a great game. As a lot of you know, I've been developing a game for the better half of like 4 years, and this game and its finished product is basically what I had envisioned in my head when I started my project. And seeing it come to life like this, even though I didn't create it, makes me really happy that a game like this can exist. Now, are there problems with Octopath Traveler? Yes, there are. Oh my god, there's so many problems with Octopath Traveler and its narrative, but everything kind of does come full circle, so I can excuse it a little bit, just a little bit, because the gameplay is solid, the world is great, traversing it feels so natural. I've never felt like I don't know if you guys have played MapleStory, but traversal in this game reminds me of traversal in MapleStory. Just, you have your world map and with your towns and then a bunch of locations connecting them, and you can freely traverse the whole world, and it's just it just feels really good to explore in Octopath Traveler and find stuff, and I really enjoyed it, even though it might not be the quote-unquote prettiest game, you know, with the 16-bit style that it went for. It's a really nice, cool retro throwback, and though it's a bit grind heavy, I did really enjoy my time with it. Alrighty, so now we get to the more controversial picks of the list. So, I picked this and I put this at this spot, knowing full well that all I'm gonna have to do for the rest of the video is justify why all these other 6 games are ranked higher than this one. So trust me, I know what I'm in for when I say that my number 7 spot of the year goes to Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not my game of the year, guys, I'm sorry, okay? And if you really love this game, all the more power to you, but there's so many glaring issues that keep it from the top for me. The narrative is legendary, okay? The story, the characters, all great. I'm not denying that. I'm a big supporter of it. I love these characters. I love the world and the narrative that they're spinning. But the problem that arises for me that keeps it so down on the list is that the gameplay and the way everything is presented to you go against you. You're constantly fighting with the game just to play it. There's so many tedious things they introduced for the sake of realism, for the sake of trying to be stylistic, that I don't think works in a video game atmosphere. And you guys can enjoy that all you want. You guys can herald it as the next coming of Jesus Christ for all I care. I don't give a shit. The game was good, very good. I don't think that it is of the greatness of the next games that are going to come after it. So I'm sorry if that offends you, but it's just my opinion. It's my list. I wanted to talk about it. Plus the online is god-awful, worse than GTA Online. And that is half of the game that people aren't talking about because it's so bad. That does bring the score down for me, if you know what I mean. So definitely a good game. Gotta give, props off to Rockstar for it, but there's problems with it that are keeping it from the top. So let's continue, and I'll explain why these next 6 are better than Red Dead Redemption 2 in nearly every way. So moving on with our next entry, we have Persona... Sorry, I can't actually say this with a straight face. Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. I'm putting these two as the same spot because they're basically the same game. They take place simultaneously, they have the same gameplay, a lot of the same songs. You buy DLC and it goes to a copy of both games, so I'm just going to treat it like Pokemon and have both of the titles be one title. I do feel like there are some differences that might make it a little different, but the Pokemon games have that too, and they're the same shit. So we're just gonna put them together at this one spot. Persona dancing games are great. The story might be a little ridiculous in Persona 4 dancing all night, but Persona 3 and Persona 5 dancing really does fix those issues and just presents a fun, nearly non-canon, I mean it is canon technically by all physical definitions, literal definitions of the word, but I mean no one remembers it, it's all a dream world that goes beyond time, so that's how these characters can be in the same spot at the same ages they were in their games. Takes place before the end of Persona 3 and after the end of Persona 5, so all the characters are here, you know, and everything just, you know, really works. It's a real fun. It feels like a celebration of Persona, and that's really all it needed to be. It does what it wants, what it's trying to do. It does better than Red Dead Redemption 2, and for what it is, I really enjoyed my time with it. I platinumed both of them, and I had a blast doing so. Okay, some of the remixes are so good. I've been listening to them for weeks now at this point. So that's why the Persona dancing games are my number 6 spot on the list. And this is gonna get old real quick having to explain why these are all better than Red Dead Redemption 2. But let's keep going. Number 5. Another controversial pick. My number 5 is Black Ops 4. Shocker. I'm sorry. Okay, I know it's fun to shit on COD. But this one's good, like really good. I wasn't expecting it to be good, but it was really good. Now there's some glaring issues with this one too. The only problem with that is that I'm much more forgiving of the issues that this game has, hence why it's a little bit higher on the list than say Octopath or Persona or, you know, the other ones on this list. But Black Ops 4, I just, man, let's just go it piece by piece. So there's 3, you know, pieces of this game that make up what it is. We've got multiplayer, zombies, and Blackout. So we'll start just in that order. We'll go multiplayer. I think it's the best since Modern Warfare 2. Yes, even better than Black Ops 2. The map design, while not perfect, does a good enough job. There's a lot of memorable maps. Some of the maps in this game are, I think, some of Treyarch's best, and though they're not as open as I would like, there are some open maps that really do take advantage of stuff, and you know, like the open layouts that let you kind of traverse as you see fit. Plus, there's a lot of, like, you know, remade maps from previous games, and of course those were all great. But seeing everything just mesh so well together, the 150 health, the manual healing, the specialists, the 5v5. This is the kind of change that I was asking for years. I didn't want the jetpack shit, I just wanted stuff like this, and they gave it to us, and it's great. The tier system is a way better way of unlocking, you know, cosmetic content than loot boxes ever were, and though I have some of my issues with that as well, it's not enough to distract from the game itself. Zombies is as good as it's ever been. The story is in a really good spot right now, and it's just gearing up for some really interesting shit. Of course, they can ruin it. The first DLC map was bad, but even the Chaos story is pretty interesting. I'm not fully on board with it yet, but I'm enjoying the ride so far. Of course, we did get 2 remade maps in this game, and both of them are crisp and really fun. And then the new maps in the Chaos story I think are good too. 9 is one of my favorite zombies maps of all time now, and the gameplay, everything's just really fun. A lot of stuff that I wasn't expecting to like the changes to perks and how you create your class before the game. I wasn't expecting to like all that, but it does give you a lot of freedom to choose your layout, and generally makes a difference, so I do appreciate it a lot. And finally, Blackout. Now, there's not a lot to say about Blackout. It is the best Battle Royale experience that you can get, bar none. There's no better experience than it. Fortnite is a different experience. PUBG doesn't even come close, and all the other shitty early access BRs on Steam are just bad, so we're not going to talk about those. If you're going to play a Battle Royale game and you want it to be of that PUBG style but don't want all the bugs and bullshit, Blackout is where to go. They're still working on it, making it as best as it can be, but we're in a really good spot now, and I can stand by my opinion. Blackout is the best Battle Royale. So that's kind of why it's all at number 5. I just think it does a good job being what it needs to be. As for Red Dead Redemption 2, whatever. But Black Ops 4, despite its lack of campaign, which does hurt me greatly, I'm enjoying it immensely. Now let's get into the cream of the crop, the 10 out of 10s, the super good, amazing games on this list, starting with our number 4, Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's no secret that I love Dragon Ball FighterZ. I gave it a glowing review earlier last year. I played the shit out of it. I almost platinumed it. The only trophies I'm missing are the Zenny trophies, and those are just so grindy and boring. Did not really feel like playing story mode for 200 plus hours, doing the same fight over and over again just to grind my Zenny out for that trophy, so I never got it. But I did get all the online trophies. I did get everything there's to see. I got to I got to Super Saiyan 3. That was where I topped out. I did get D-ranked after that, but I did get to Super Saiyan 3, which is 600,000 BP in the ranked modes. I enjoyed it immensely. I still play it from time to time. I'm kind of waiting to see the news on what's going to happen with a possible future season before I keep playing the game and devoting more time to it, because I would like to try out some other fighting games, but a traditional fighting game of choice right now is still Dragon Ball FighterZ for me. It is a traditional, real fighting game. The journey this game went through over the year it was out was insane. Watching it at EVO and all these events, the Tournament of Power, everything was just so fun to watch. It was a fun game to watch, fun game to play. It was just great, and it was the first fighting game I ever got really good at. I mean, I'm not saying I'm amazing or anything, but I got decent at the game. I mean, I was orange square, 600,000 BP. I never do that with fighting games. I try sometimes, but this was the only game I really devoted a lot of time to learning, and that just goes to the testament of just how well made it is. And it is really accessible for newcomers, yeah, but it is still that deep, traditional fighting game experience you expect from ArcSys, and it deserves to be praised and heralded as one of the best games this year. And it sucks that a lot of people stop talking about this game, but I assure you it is a solid fighting game. Alright, so and without going too much into Dragon Ball, let's go into our number 3, Marvel's Spider-Man. So this game, really special to me. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. Really loved the Spider-Man games growing up, and this game is an extension of that in every way. I already reviewed it, gave it a glowing review, but let me just go a little bit more and tell you some of my thoughts on the game. So its story is great. It's a great Spider-Man story. The Peter Parker stuff is important to making Spider-Man work, and this is the first game I've seen that really nails it and really nails the Peter Parker story. Some of the Peter Parker stuff is more interesting than a lot of the Spider-Man stuff that goes on, and that just goes to show that the writers knew what they were doing. The gameplay itself is super tight, super responsive, really fun. Swinging around the city is just a blast. I never fast traveled, aside from the 5 times you need to for the trophy, which I did platinum this game, but aside from the 5 times you need to for the trophy, I never fast traveled. I just swung everywhere. It's that fun. Yeah, you know, when Red Dead Redemption 2 is panned for having barely any fast travel features, because everyone just wants to fast travel everywhere, but no one fast travels in the game that has fast travel everywhere because moving around is so fun, you know that it did something right. And though the story might not be as dramatic or as impressive as a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, it does a really good job. It does what it needs to do, and it does it flawlessly. And there was a lot of cool twists and turns, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool nods. People are saying this is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. But 2018 really was the year of the Spider. We got Infinity War, we got this game, and we got Spider-Verse. And that was really, really cool to see. And I can't wait to see what Insomniac does next with this property, because we know they're gonna make a sequel. At this point, it's a given. It's like one of the best-selling games ever in PlayStation history. So yeah, we're gonna get a sequel. Can't wait to see what they do going forward. Speaking of some of the best games in PlayStation history, my number 2 is God of War, the new one. The God of War 4, God of War reboot, whatever you want to call it. God of War. This game is fantastic, okay? Like, this game is amazing. And I wrestled for a bit on what to put as my number 1, but you guys all know what my number 1 is, so let's talk about this for a bit longer, okay? So God of War is a special game. I really liked the original God of War trilogy. Wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but I liked it. It was a lot of fun, hack and slash, and I was worried when this game was first shown off. I was like, okay, it looks like they're changing it a lot. Is it still gonna feel like God of War? You know, maybe not. I'm sure it'll be good. I trust them with it, but I was just a little bit cautious, you know? Then I got my hands on, and I can confirm it still feels like God of War. It feels like an evolution of that formula, and I was not expecting it. I really enjoyed it. I loved every minute with this game. The story, this is the best narrative of the year. The music was amazing. Not the best soundtrack, because that goes to my number one, but if we're gonna talk about that, definitely an amazing soundtrack. The acting was phenomenal. The characters were great. I cared about them all. I wanted to see them complete their mission. I wanted to see them go through this journey every second. I was not bored of this game, and I played it for 40 hours, and to not be bored for 40 hours of a video game one time goes to show that this game has amazing pacing with tons of stuff to do, keep you busy. I was just floored this whole way through the game. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, and then it was, and then I was just excited to see what comes next. Every single time, a new dungeon, a new boss fight, a new area. I was just excited to see, to walk around this world, to explore with Atreus, to fight these creatures. My only real disappointments was just that there wasn't as many boss fights as I think there should be in a God of War game, but everything that was here was really great. So I can't complain too much about that, since we did get some really great fights in this game. And I really loved this game. It has me way more interested in God of War going forward than I ever was with the previous trilogy or any of the side games that were released as well, like Ghost of Sparta or any of the other ones. So I'm really interested to see. I like how this isn't a reboot, so to speak. I mean, a lot of reboots are like, oh, all those other games didn't happen. No, all those other games are still 100% canon and referenced in this game. But this is just a new direction going forward, and it's, I think, a good one. I think this is a good direction to keep exploring going further, and if they can do this again with God of War 2 or God of War 5 or whatever you want to label it, then I don't see that game not being amazing. This is a winning formula and a winning thing, and you can tell so much love and passion was put into this game that it's astonishing, really. God of War is an amazing game, easily deserved Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and I'm happy it won. Though my list doesn't have a cutoff date, so I am going to put my personal Game of the Year up as number one, but I completely agree with anyone who says this game is Game of the Year. Very valid opinion, because this game is phenomenal. But speaking of games that obviously had a lot of love and heart poured into them by their directors, let's get in my number one, shall we? Da-da-da-da! Surprise, surprise. My number one is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I mean, what else could it be? I basically turned into a Smash channel at this point, so let's just talk about why Ultimate's great. I'm still in the process of reviewing it, and things will happen in the future that will, more videos on this channel will still continue to talk about this game as it evolves, but man, is this game goddamn brilliant. So, Smash Brothers, already great, already fantastic. Melee is one of the best games ever made. So you take all the greatness of Melee and all the greatness of all the things that Super Smash Bros. Got right over the years, and you combine everything that made it amazing into one game, and here you go. Are there problems with Ultimate? Yes. Do I give a single shit? No. This game is god tier. This game is life-changing. This game is one of the greatest games I've played in my life. It is the best Smash Brothers game, and yeah, it's phenomenal. Let's just kind of talk about it a bit. So 103 stages, 108 after DLC is done, 74 characters, 80 once DLC is done. Every returning character, 11 newcomers, almost every stage, a ton of items, a lot of returning modes. Like, this game just is jam-packed. You can tell the creators, Masahiro Sakurai and his team, really cared about this game, and they wanted to go all out with it, and they did. They really did. This is everything I could have ever wanted in a game and more. All the changes to the engine and the gameplay itself were all great. Every single change that they made is a positive one, and that's something that I think is kind of crazy. Even the ones that we weren't sure about, like the enhanced speed after launch, the enhanced knockback. Some people were worried about that, and I think it works fine. I think it just changes up some of the combo strings, some of the ways you need to think about the game. A lot of the way that this game works is just a huge improvement. They really spent a lot of time balancing this game out for competitive play, and yeah, it's not perfectly balanced. Obviously, there's going to be the stronger characters, the weaker characters. Bayonetta's nerfed into the ground. She's practically unusable at this point, but and then Inkling and some other characters are just, you know, just dominating. But the balance, the gap is much smaller than it was in a game like, say, Brawl, for example, you know, where Meta Knight just towered above everyone else, and the character viability was just on how well it can counter Meta Knight, basically. It was how that game was ran. So can't wait to see the competitive future of this game. Can't wait to see the casual future of this game. The story mode is great. World of Light is awesome. All the spirits are so fun to see, and the combinations. Playing online is fun, though flawed. They're working on it, I know, but still there's some major flaws with that I'd like to see ironed out. All the bonus stuff, the shop, and all the content in it, all the songs, the music, the remixes and everything. We already made a video about the best remixes, so you know that soundtrack is good. The visuals, the gameplay, everything, just solid, guys. And this is one of those games that is one of those once-in-a-lifetime games. Like, I don't know if it's gonna get much better than this, honestly. It's so good, and I'm so happy to be live right now and be able to just go across the room and play this game. This game is out, and I never thought it would ever exist, and it makes me very happy that it does. I mean, Ren goddamn Amamaya from Persona 5 is the first DLC character for this game, and if that isn't just the icing on the cake, I don't know what else is. Main character of my favorite video game ever created is the first DLC character for the best game in my favorite franchise. So yeah, I think the tattoo of the Smash logo that I got was well deserved. This game is great. I could rant about it all day, but don't want this video to be an hour long, so we'll cut it short here. That's my list. 10 best games this year. There's a lot that I know I missed out on, but unfortunately I can't play everything. I know The Messenger was good. I know that I know that there was some stuff I was missing on here, but this is just, out of what I played, out of what I experienced, so I can't put everything on here, unfortunately. And I didn't want my honorable mentions to just be like 20 fucking games, I wanted it to be just kind of condensed. So didn't talk about everything I wanted to, but overall I think 2018 was a very good year for games. Definitely a very good year, though there was some big omissions from that. As you may recall, I have not done worst games of the year in 2 years, and last year, 2018, whatever, was so bad in so many ways that it inspired me to bring back the series. I was like, it feels way better to be more positive and not be negative all the time, and project positivity into the gaming world and the gaming community, but nah, man, I gotta talk about some of these dumpster fires, so expect that sometime next week. Top 10 worst games of the year. There's a lot to talk about, guys. So that's it, man. I know this video was a little bit more freeform than my usual format, so if that bothers you, whatever, man. Have a good day.